Hi, my name is Dan, and I'm coming to you live from my garage here in Hawaii. Hey, if you are receiving this video, you most likely fall into the category of a post-YWAMer. You have done YWAM in some shape, size, or category, and now you're back in a job, or school, or home, and probably have asked or are asking, what does all of that look like here? Rest assured, if that is you, you are not alone. There are so many in your same shoes, including my wife and I and a handful of others who have been trying to proactively answer some of those questions. For me personally, my first stint with YWAM was for about 8 years. I'm your quintessential YWAMer. I did DTS, staff DTS, led DTS, did SBS, and then was launched all over the YWAM world as a young speaker. During that season of my life, two common threads, though, stood out to me that changed me forever. Number one, I recognized that God uses YWAM and there's an anointing on it that changes people's lives, that people come into YWAM and they meet God in a way that they never dreamed of. I know that's my testimony, and more likely than not, it is yours as well. Secondly, though, the thread that I noticed was that more often than not, people don't know how to translate that change back into life after base, as I like to say. And that really stood out to me. So much so that it led me and my wife on a journey the past 8 years outside of YWAM, asking ourselves, what does it look like to not only make disciples, but sustain them and multiply them outside of an organization? That first led us down to South Africa under the mentorship of a guy named Floyd McClung, where we just studied simple church planning and practiced in all different environments. It was an incredible season of our lives. Then we went under Floyd's covering back to Denver, where I'm from, and just practiced recreating various forms of discipleship community, particularly with university students, both believers and non. Throughout that journey, we really came to find that the elements we taste in YWAM are actually translatable into society. It's just that the model that we are so used to experiencing those elements through are very much not, i.e. a base, a DTS. Those are short term and they don't fit into a 9 to 5. It's just not practical. However, if we can look through those models at the elements that they contain and cultivate, those things are. Let me expound that a little bit. When I was teaching all over the YWAM world, I was going to big DTSs, small DTSs. Some had great staff, some had terrible staff. Some had money, some didn't. Some had good speakers, some had bad speakers. But one thing that I found was that regardless of any of those things, God meets people who come together and try to seek him. See, I actually found that it wasn't some special sauce necessarily that YWAM has, as much as it was just the faithfulness to God, to his promises. In James, it says, draw near to God and he will draw near to you. It's a bottom line promise. In Jeremiah, it says, if you seek me, you will find me. And so if we come together and seek him, he essentially has to meet us because he's faithful. And so YWAM is so good at creating platforms that draws people who are trying to seek him, and he meets them there. So the second thing, though, that stood out to me throughout this season was something actually that Floyd shared with me. He said, you know, in all my years, I've found that if a group of people, if 3 or more people come together and they commit themselves to trying to love God, trying to love each other, and trying to love those who don't know God, something happens. And it just dawned on me. I was like, that's actually what I had in my DTS. And something did happen. And so for me, it was more on the lines of, well, if we can create a platform, even regardless of if it's DTS or YWAM, that tries to cultivate those 3 things, then we will experience some of those elements that we tasted in YWAM. So what does this all have to do with you? Well, that group I mentioned at the beginning that has been trying to answer some of these questions over the past few years, we've come together, and although we're all in agreement that the model we are all so used to tasting these beautiful elements from is not really translatable into society, there are some beautiful, simple models that provide riverbanks to those same elements that are translatable into society. And we started dreaming together, what would happen if a handful of us post-YWAMers linked arms together and tried this together and prayed for one another, talked with one another, and just shared, hey, this worked, this didn't, and just kind of went on this journey together. What might happen? And we just want you to invite you to pray about joining us. In the next few months, we're all going to try to start one of these models. We're going to put them in this email. but we're all going to try to start one in whatever environment we're in, and just see where it leads us. At the very least, we feel that so many will come to the Lord and be discipled. But we just dream of what would happen when we all stay connected through this. We want to start a private Facebook page that we would include anybody that would be willing to do this. And if that is you, would you just let us know? We'll provide you a lot more information with that, but we just wanted to get that word out to you. So yeah, thanks for listening. And yeah, we hope to hear from you.